Spree Survival System author, Chi Chu copywriting, Sue Kitchen, who was fed by the reader with a blade, died suddenly. Ding! Your survival system suddenly appeared. Wear it into all your B novels and become the protagonist. Want him to rewrite the ending? Let him fall in love in person? System, the sweeter the emotional line, the higher your chance of success. Sue Kitchen, sweet text is impossible, it is impossible in this life. System, okay, the host chooses to maintain the sudden death state. Not. Sue Kitchen, I wear it, I make cookies by myself. Neil number Sue Kitchen, you really look like someone. Old attack, open your mouth and eat candy. Sue Kitchen, you really are not. Lao Gong, sugar can't stop your mouth. Sue Kitchen, you bit me. Number confirmed. HUYA, the one who fed me candy. Number technology tycoon, giant infatuation, plan pass, black belly attack vs Ziyuan crazy demon, emotional waste, white soft beloved, Buddha system mind clearance. 1. The overall tone is sweeter but not purely sweet, there is glass slag, so be careful. 2. Attack and suffering have their own shortcomings, and they will slowly change in different worlds. Subject to quiet personality and hereditary hypoglycemia. 3. The slow-paced love story is about two people who have missed 10 years, learn to be loved and loved in the virtual world, and finally return to reality. The world is as follows: prosperity beauty flow idol is attacked by ex-gods appreciating meal and smashing god movie emperor fake drama is really more professional than me super afraid of dogs being attacked by ex vicious dogs please don't come when run disabled domestic servant is attacked by master ex scheming is master jealous today? Yes pseudo idiot faint blood patient attacked by ex pseudo high cold vampire doctor hurry up and embrace me. Content label, a soft spot for the system to pass through books search keywords, protagonist, Sue Kitchen, attack supporting role others, 1v1, Twoway crush, author's book and quick pass. 4 o'clock in the morning on March 22, 2025. Sue Kitchen died suddenly. He was still sitting in front of the computer for the last second, and he fell on the keyboard in this second and plunged into darkness. At this time, a slightly metallic voice came from nowhere. Hello, welcome to Be Crazy Demon Survival System, I am the System AI, number 0901. Sue Kitchen, what system? The voice is not rushing, this system is also known as the unscrupulous author's debt repayment system. Readers love me again, and please rewrite the system if you don't accept B. If Sue Kitchen can see his face now, it should be full of black lines. These aliases are familiar to him, and they are the most frequently used words in his Weibo comments. As a male Danmei novelist, Sue Kitchen can definitely be regarded as a rare species, and his unique style of plot is ups and downs, and he has become popular with his diligent update. It's just that there are two common problems in the novels he wrote, one is the weak emotional line, and the other is that he is not careful. These two issues have been criticized since the beginning of his writing, but he can't stand the excellent plot and his own traffic. He is still a popular writer, provided that he is still alive. System, Mr. Sue, you will travel to different worlds in this system, playing different roles to complete the designated tasks, and at the same time as you complete the tasks. I refuse. Sue Kitchen was straightforward. The interrupted AI still has no emotions. Okay, the host chose to refuse to enter the system. Can you refuse? Refusing to enter the system, the actual host's sudden death will not change. Hey wait! Sue Kitchen reacted immediately, am I really dead? Yes. This tone is beyond doubt. Sue Kitchen tentatively asked, so, if I enter the system, can I still be saved in reality? Yes, if you complete all the tasks, the reality of your death ending will be rewritten. This is too mysterious, because he writes essays, so ordinary people can't easily accept these weird settings. Sue Kitchen's parents died early, and he has nothing to do with him, but the aunt who adopted him until he graduated from high school is very kind to him. He also wants to earn more money to make her live a good life. Xin Peng has just opened 10 chapters, Peng Li the little angels are still waiting to be fed, not to mention. No, he can't die yet. Su Kitchen sorted out his emotions, I chose to enter the system. Okay, enter the first world below. This work efficiency is too high. Many fragmented pictures flashed in his mind, and the surrounding dark space began to be distorted, and countless shining fragments gathered towards him, slowly forming his body. Su Kitchen lowered his head and saw his hands gradually forming. He tried to hold them, and the touch on his skin was terrifying. Open your eyes, except for the ceiling, there are just a few strange and familiar faces. Men's woke up. Su Kitchen frowned and sat up on the sofa. In front of him were 4 young people with different temperaments and good looks, wearing slightly exaggerated stage makeup. The little guy just called him Men's. Men's? The system is complete. Mr. Su, your identity in this world is G-Men's, who acts as the facade of soulmate. What? Su Kitchen ignored the concerns of other people and greeted him. He got up and walked to the makeup mirror. In the mirror, there was an extremely delicate face with the same exaggerated makeup, even more beautiful than a girl. Su Kitchen couldn't help but reach out to touch his current face, and asked the voice in his heart, why did I enter my novel? The system AI replied, all the worlds in this system come from the novels you created by Mr. Su, and the characters set by the system for Mr. Su are also the protagonists in the novel. Su Kitchen looked at himself in the mirror carefully, then looked at several people around him. He has indeed entered his own novel. This novel is an entertainment essay he started serializing 6 years ago. It is called The Peak Contest of Beauty and Acting. In fact, his creative purpose was not simple at that time, just because the entertainment essay was very popular in those years. To cater to the market, I simply wrote an article. His current identity is one of the heroes in the novel and a super popular idol in the super popular boy group. Su Kitchen is well acquainted with the characteristics of the era of male beauty, so he created the perfect vase of G-Men's very tacky. Nothing else is mentioned. The beauty alone is worthy of a prosperous beauty. It is a pity that the acting skills are not very good. Popularity has played one after another, all of which are bad films. The other male protagonist, just the opposite of G-Men's, is the youngest movie actor in history, Lin Ran, who was born to eat acting. The two got acquainted by cooperating in a movie with the same sex. Lin Ran disliked G-Men's, who was eating on his face. But after the movie was broadcast, the box office exploded, and the national CP light speed rose, and various bundles were hot searched on variety shows. But Su Kitchen remembered that this novel seemed to be B. No way, Su Kitchen lost his love for this article until the end of this writing. He just wanted to finish and open a new hole as soon as possible, so he wrote G-Men's to death, and chose to commit suicide due to long-term online violence and malicious slander. Thinking about it now, it's a bit irresponsible. After recalling all the plots, Su Kitchen became confused and confident. 0901, I want to ask questions. The term system is a bit weird when used as a name. Su Kitchen simply called him by the number mentioned by AI just now. I am the author, and I made up all the storylines, an IE-opening player. Is there any point in playing games? 0901 explained, Mr. Su, first, this system was born out of your original novel, but it is not exactly the same. Second, you are no longer an author from the perspective of God, but the protagonist involved in the story. Every choice made will cause unpredictable changes to the unfolding of the story. Su Kitchen had some headaches. He was obviously going through his own novels, and finally became the winner of the life with the script. As a result, the previous scripts are not necessarily counted. Every step of his own may cause completely different results. Butterfly effect. Mr. Su, the main mission is now released for you. A light curtain that only he could see appeared in front of Su Kitchen's eyes, with a line of blue characters on it, rewriting the ending of G-Men's suicide. Su Kitchen stared at the line and asked, what if the mission fails? No matter which world, once the mission fails, you will not be able to resurrect in real life. Compared with the fast-passing novels written by his colleagues before, what he is experiencing now is more like a death game, and Su Kitchen has no retreat. To be honest, Su Kitchen never chased stars, nor did he feel too much about the internet traffic niche. But if you become a traffic with extremely poor passers-by and perennial cyber violence, how can you turn it around? This skin look in the mirror is really good looking. Although he looks good in real life, it is not worth mentioning when compared with the role setting. By the way, do I need to imitate the role settings of different worlds? This is a question Su Kitchen cares about, which means whether he needs to use his own poor acting skills. 0901, if you are suspected of your identity by the people in the system world, the mission will be in crisis, which is likely to cause failure. That is to ensure that it is not 200C. Men's, are you okay? The gentlest of the few people stepped forward, putting his hand on his shoulder. Su Kitchen carefully recalled the setting, and smiled in response, it's okay, Minky. Seeing the other party, he also smiled, Su Kitchen secretly relieved and guessed it right. When he woke up, the first small man who yelled should be the lead singer Bai Yi. When he wrote the essay, he thought that the lead singer of the men's group seemed to be not high, so I said it like this. The muscular line next to him should be Zhang Ling, who is in charge of rap. He glanced at the thin but scornful one in the most corner. Su Kitchen thought for a while, it should be Shen Huan, the main dancer in the original work who also liked G-Men's. After roughly sorting out the original characters, Su Kitchen showed everyone a weak smile, sorry, I worried you. Bai Yi, you suddenly fell down when you stepped down, but it frightened me. Zhang Ling hugged his arms, it's fortunate not to faint on the stage, otherwise the fans in the audience will be crazy. Su Kitchen nodded and was pushed by Ming Qi to sit down in front of the sofa. A glass of water appeared in front of him. When he looked up, Shen Huan handed it over. He whispered a thank you, took the water and took a sip, and quickly recalled the plot in his mind. Suddenly, the sound of high heels came from the door. Bai Yi whispered, Mother Yun is here. As soon as the voice fell, a woman in her 30s with capable temperament walked in. Su Kitchen looked at her, and the woman's aura was really strong. By the way, this is Soulmate's agent Li Yun. Su Kitchen spoke weakly, Sister Yun. Li Yun said to the other team members, go get ready, and go to the concert celebration party later. Then his eyes fell on Su Kitchen's face, how are you? Su Kitchen, it's much better. That's good, Amy helps men's clean up again, the sooner the better. After finishing it, come out and find me. The last sentence was for Su Kitchen. Su Kitchen nodded, followed the staff into the lounge and took a shower. The hairstylist wanted to restyling him, so Su Kitchen just let him blow dry. However, makeup artist Amy put on another makeup for him, which is indeed a special profession. Several other members quickly packed up and followed their assistants into the car, while Su Kitchen was taken to another car by Li Yun. After getting in the car, Li Yun threw him a stack of paper, look at it. This is a movie script. Su Kitchen quickly reacted. In the novel, after the Shanghai show, G-Men's was taken to temporarily participate in an audition. It was precisely because of this audition that he had the intersection with Lin Ran. This is a key point in the plot. Go directly to the main storyline, this progress. By the way, Mr. Su. The system's voice sounded again, in addition to the main task, you also need to complete a secondary task that runs through all the world of the system. If you successfully complete it, you will receive additional points and props from the system. These all help you complete the main task. If you fail, your brain will be damaged even if you resurrect after returning to the real world, which may affect your normal life. So much fun? So, what is the secondary task? 0901, the secondary task is that you must perfect the emotional line of attack in each world. The more plump and sweeter, the more reward points and items you will get. Su Kitchen now somewhat suspects that this system is a revenge product produced by a certain great reader due to long-term grievances and dissatisfaction. I blame myself for being so stupid and naive, thinking that writing a B on the line of shui sentimental line will receive the blade at most, but I didn't expect it to be life-threatening now. However, he is such a mother-tockled single relationship waste. From the perspective of God, he doesn't know how to handle the relationship between two people. Now it is too difficult for him to put himself in love with the character he created. Su Kitchen opened the script. When it was serialized, only some fragments of the drama appeared in the original text. Now it is interesting to see that the fragmented concept becomes a complete stack of scripts. This is a new play directed by Chen Anping. If it weren't for Du Meng's bad luck, we wouldn't have a chance to audition if something went wrong in this section. Du Meng is a very powerful cannon fodder set by him. His debut is a big director's play, and he became famous overnight. The following works are also well received. It is in the rising period, and he needs a very hot and award-winning movie. Of the film. No, the opportunity is here. It is impossible to cooperate with the Chinese-American director Chen Anping and the rising star Lin Ran. But at this time, Du Meng was revealed to have an improper relationship with a number of young internet celebrities. One after another, Du Meng, who had been cleaning up the young people, was pulled off the altar by the majority of netizens, and accumulated for several years. The word of mouth that came down said that there would be no more. What the director fancied was his personality, which was in line with the role, but now the true face is revealed, and the overwhelming criticism alone is enough to make investors replace him without hesitation. Li Yun embraced her arms and looked at Ji Men's, who bowed her head silently and said, "You won't attend the celebration banquet in a while. Let's go straight to the audition. I have arranged it." She looked down at her watch and continued, "Chen Anping here. Obviously I wanted to use this drama to win prizes. Isn't it right? The current international award-winning films must have both humanistic depth and topicality, and can quickly accumulate traffic. Only LGBT themes, even if they fail to win the award, the hot agenda and discussion will definitely return." Su Kitchen really thought so when he wrote. How could he expect that one day he would wear this novel? I read the book, and in the role of Yuning, no one fits you better in appearance. Appearance? Su Kitchen smiled bitterly, but I have no acting skills. Li Yun glared fiercely, "Go first, let's talk about it. The people like you are not good enough to be delivered to the door, and good resources are not available without tearing. This woman is stronger than she wrote." Almost there. Li Yun looked out of the car window. "The hotel where the audition was performed is not far away, you are ready to prepare." According to the original storyline, the next step is to enter the hotel, start the audition, fail the audition, and join the group because of pressure from investors. 0901, Su Kitchen asked the system again, "Can I take the initiative to change the storyline?" "You are the original work and the host of the system, of course, as long as you can afford the changed results." Su Kitchen looked at his face on the car window, meditated for a moment, and spoke. "Wait first. What's happenin'?" Su Kitchen turned to look at Li Yun, and pointed to the assistant Xiao Wang next to her. "I want to wear this white t-shirt on him." Li Yun was stunned for a while. Also, Su Kitchen began to undress, "Help me remove all my makeup." "Xiao Wang, but, I'm much fatter than you, and this dress is a street vendor." Su Kitchen has already started to unbutton it. "It's okay, take it off quickly, just lend me to wear it all night." Xiao Wang looked at Sister Yun, Li Yun curled up her mouth, and nodded her chin, "If he asks you to take it off, take it off. Xiao Zhang, help Men's remove her makeup." Su Kitchen took the white t-shirt that Xiao Wang hesitatingly handed over, and quickly put it on his head. Xiaozhong on the side pulled out the makeup remover and started to work. Su Kitchen grabbed the broken hair that was hanging obediently in front of his forehead and murmured, "Fortunately, I just took a shower and didn't have a hairstyle." Li Yun looked at the obedient boy in front of him meaningfully. With his gorgeous stage clothes and makeup removed, he was still the cleanest appearance of 17 or 18. "You still have a bit of a brain." Su Kitchen felt that this Li Yun was more mean than he wrote. He smiled at the woman, did not speak, and saw a black baseball cap next to the seat, which he clasped on his head. Everything was ready. Li Yun took Su Kitchen into the hotel. The audition place was in a large suite. As soon as he got on the elevator, he saw several staff in black suits. Li Yun and one of them seemed to know each other and immediately changed into one. The deputy smiled warmly, "Oh, Brother Hong, long time no see, are you in charge of the audition reception today?" The man called Hong Ji also smiled, and took Li Yun's shoulders, "Yes, the most tiring job. You also bring someone to try. Men's, come." This name is not unfamiliar to Su Kitchen, but it is always difficult to deal with himself. Su Kitchen sighed softly, and then followed Li Yun. Brother Hong's eyes lit up, "Oh, this is not your company's super idol? Hello, hello, my sister likes you very much." Su Kitchen smiled and shook hands with him and said a few thanks. However, Brother Hong obviously did not expect Li Yun to bring G-Men's, and he said in a low voice, "We are all old acquaintances, I will give you a vaccination first. Today's audition is no better than the others, who can be chosen? You have to be mentally prepared for a day trip." How to say? In addition to Director Chen and Editor Chu, there is another person sitting inside. Li Yun will come over immediately, Lin Ran. Brother Hong slapped his slap, "Yes. I'll tell you directly, Chu compiled this book, the actor is based on Lin Randang's prototype." Prototype, Su Kitchen felt helpless when hearing this word, and wanted to laugh. He had chosen it a long time ago, Lin Ran, it's normal to want to pick someone personally. Li Yun whispered a little bit. Although she didn't have much contact with Lin Ran, her acquaintances around him gave him a good comment. They said there was no arrogance, only one thing, and hated the flow idols who depended on their appearance. This is a little troublesome. Su Kitchen looked indifferent, which made Li Yun sigh. "Stop chatting, I'll take you to fill in the information. Men's, you can wait in the lounge now, there are too many people today, squeeze your head." Su Kitchen nodded and let them take it with them. After busying a lap, Li Yun ran out to work up and down, leaving him in the lounge to read the script. This film is called Nankei. Su Kitchen was still very distressed when he wrote the essay. It was really difficult for people to feel greasy and literary. After several names were drawn up, he finally chose the original version. Nankei is the name of Lin Ran's role in the play. The story core of the script is actually very simple. Start with the reunion of two young people. Time jumps, interspersed in the reunion with the memories of the two protagonists in a foreign country 5 years ago, focusing on the ignorant, complex, and sensitive emotions of the teenager, as well as the growth and calmness after experiencing time changes, friendship and love, the future and the past. The whole movie is full of large sections of inner monologues, which test the skills of the lines. Su Kitchen was looking down, his shoulder was lightly patted, and he looked up to see a young man with dimples, looking at his 20s, his voice was full of surprise. "It's really you, I just thought it was a mistake when I looked over there." Su Kitchen quickly recalled the character in the novel. The setting of Dimple is quite special. He also responded with a smile, "Sun Cheng, you are here too." Sun Cheng nodded vigorously, full of vitality. Su Kitchen looked at him, and the real person who coincided with the setting made him a little strange. This is a supporting role in the novel. He has a good acting talent, a background in a class, and a cheerful personality. This is also a powerful role. Competitor, he was also one of the guests when the Soulmate group was on the variety show before, so it was a good deal. Are you here to try Yuning? Sun Cheng glanced at the line Su Kitchen was reading. Su Kitchen did not hide it and nodded. Me too, but the person here is a melancholic and beautiful boy, which is totally inconsistent with me. His two dimples are deep. Su Kitchen, it doesn't matter, there is a challenge only when there is contrast. The smile on Sun Cheng's face solidified, and Su Kitchen was still a little strange. Did he say something wrong? Sun Cheng grabbed Su Kitchen's shoulders. You are kind and gentle. I want to be friends with you. Can I add WeChat? I didn't add WeChat last time. I like your group's songs so much. I wanted to see your tour. Of Su Kitchen. Hey. Sun Cheng touched Su Kitchen's face. You didn't come with plain makeup, right? You don't have any powder on your face. Su Kitchen nodded. Have you put on makeup? Can't tell. I'm going. You are really, it's so good looking. I don't know if it's because someone is talking next to him, or the time for each actor to audition is too short. It feels like people will arrive at Sun Cheng soon. Su Kitchen patted him on the shoulder symbolically, said to cheer, and the other party left the lounge with an appearance of going to death. Su Kitchen lowered his head and continued to look at the script. He felt that Sun Cheng had already returned before reading a few pages. The expression on his face was bitter. When he saw Su Kitchen, he began to cry. Men's really familiar. Su Kitchen, what's wrong? It's so difficult. I was shocked as soon as I entered. I didn't expect Lin Ran to be in it. I almost forgot the lines. Then Director Chen asked me to perform the drunk part of Yu Ning. I didn't know what I was doing. Good or bad, anyway, it was stopped within 10 minutes. Sun Cheng clutched his hair dejectedly. Director Chen didn't say anything else. Sun Cheng shook his head. Director Chen is so cool, he didn't say a word with a straight face, but Lin Ran asked me one last word. What? Do you think you can control Yuning? After Sun Cheng imitated Lin Ran's expression, like a discouraged ball, he sighed. And then? Then I said I wanted to challenge it. Sun Cheng sighed. Although his expression is quite gentle, I was shocked when I heard it. Su Kitchen patted him on the back and didn't say anything to comfort him. He has never been able to comfort others, and he has not been comforted much. At this time, it is better to say less. The drunk period? Su Kitchen was a little nervous when he said that. He hadn't acted in any drama except for playing drama and soy sauce when he was in college. Jimen's setting is also an acting idiot. What can I do? Is it really necessary to bring capital in the original text? Can the team interact with Lin Ran? 0901, can the points be purchased for additional character settings? For example, acting. The cold voice quickly responded, this is against the regulations, and, Mr. Su, your initial point is only 500. Oh. What can I buy for 500? It depends on what you need. A pen, 2 lighters, or 5 small cans of fruit hard candies, etc. Su Kitchen thought for a while, then I need a can of sugar. Okay, Mr. Su. Su Kitchen heard a ding, the left pocket of his jeans bulged, and he reached out and touched it, and as expected, an egg-sized jar appeared. 0901, your business is a bit tricky. Sorry, I reminded you that you are a small pot. I bought everything. Su Kitchen took out the sugar bowl. Do you want to eat? He shook the sugar bowl at Sun Cheng. Sun Cheng shook his head, still dejected. Su Kitchen took the sugar bowl back and saw Li Yun walking in. It was estimated that he was almost there. Su Kitchen asked Sun Cheng, do you know where the bathroom is? Well, it seems to be going out and turning left and walking to the end. Su Kitchen got up and greeted Li Yun, but Li Yun asked him instead, when did you get so close to Sun Cheng? No, I just happened to ran into it and chatted a few words. Li Yun's expression was not very good looking. She wanted to talk and stopped, and finally he asked, "Go ahead, you will be there soon." Su Kitchen pressed the brim of his hat, lowered his head and squeezed out the overcrowded doorway, and walked straight to the bathroom. In the bathroom, Su Kitchen pondered Li Yun's expression. In Su Kitchen's memory, the role of Sun Cheng is an insignificant cutscene role. The setting is also very simple, and the subsequent appearances are not many. But if you change the original plot, it should also affect the development of the original character's story. When he was washing his hands, Su Kitchen suddenly felt a little dizzy. He shook his head and turned off the faucet. The reflection of the metal was a little dazzling. His eyes darkened suddenly, and his legs began to weaken. He immediately pressed the marble countertop of the sink to support his body. "I should really eat first before coming." Hearing the sound of flushing, a man walked out of the cubicle and stood next to him to wash his hands. Su Kitchen, who was suffering from hypoglycemia, couldn't even lift his head. He turned a little sideways and slowly moved his steps, leaning his right shoulder against the wall, and leaning his entire body against the wall. "Fortunately, I just bought the system's black candy, which came early rather than coincidentally." Reached out and took out the small sugar bowl in his pocket, holding the can with his left hand and the lid with his right. "Can't open." He could hear the sound of water flowing beside him constantly. He gritted his teeth and tried to twist it again, but his hands were weak and still couldn't open. "Black Heart System, Black Heart Candy." Su Kitchen now doesn't even have the strength to complain about the system. The sound of the water finally stopped, the sound of pulling paper again and again, and then the sound of dry paper towels rubbing with fingers, reverberating repeatedly in Su Kitchen's dizzy brain, making people ring in his ears. The crumpled tissues were thrown into the wastebasket. This person is leaving. Although his legs were almost unable to support his body, Su Kitchen's consciousness was still there, he was just struggling. "No way," he stretched out his left hand and grabbed the arm of the person who was about to leave the bathroom. "Sorry, can you please help me unscrew this?" The opponent's footsteps were stagnant, and Su Kitchen's vision under the brim of his hat could only see the opponent's waist, a pair of straight long legs, wearing suits and pants, and the opponent did not pick up his sugar bowl. On the verge of fainting, Su Kitchen's hand that originally grabbed his arm fell weakly, grabbed the opponent's wrist, and put his sugar bowl on his hand, his voice weak. "Help!" After a brief silence, the other party seemed to finally agree. He reached out and took the small sugar bowl in Su Kitchen's hand. With a click, the sugar bowl was opened and handed back to him. His fingers were also very long and beautiful. Su Kitchen took the jar and said thank you in a low voice. The next moment he collapsed on the ground, and put his head up and poured the colorful sugar granules into his mouth. It was not like eating sugar, more like taking medicine. There was a feeling of blood returning from the supplementation of sugar. Su Kitchen's paralyzed limbs began to slowly regain strength. After sitting for a while, the person seemed not to leave. "If you fainted here, it will be over. This person can be considered a great help. Thank you later." Su Kitchen was about to stand up against the wall, but found that his vision suddenly widened. The baseball cap on his head was taken away by Mr. Can Opener. Sitting on the ground, Su Kitchen raised his head and saw a face that could be called a very handsome face. He tilted his head and looked at himself with a smile. At the moment when his eyes were facing each other, he couldn't tell why, maybe it was because of the creator's intuition about himself, he immediately confirmed that the person in front of him was Lin Ran. An awkward first meeting, an awkward cry for help, an awkward posture. The most embarrassing thing is that his mouth is still full of fruit hard candies. Assorted flavors, sour and sweet. The author has something to say. 0901, Mr. Su, come on, attack him with his beauty. Su Kitchen, Make a fist Lin Ran, from now on you will know who is attacking whom. Eyes kill Su Kitchen. Hey, someone rushed to do the task with me. Just when Su Kitchen was caught off guard, Li Yun's voice came from outside. Mens? Mens? Are you inside? N. As if grabbing the life-saving straw, Su Kitchen responded with a candy, and then quickly got up, looked at the man in front of him, bowed, "Thank you." Then walked out. "What are you doing? I am so anxious to death." Li Yun dragged Su Kitchen forward, her high heels flying away. There were female staff members around with surprises on their faces, and they whispered Jimen's name. Su Kitchen realized that his hat was still in that person's hand. Su Kitchen turned his head subconsciously. Lin Ran happened to come out of the bathroom. The two people looked at each other. Lin Ran raised the black baseball cap in his hand, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. Su Kitchen turned his head and asked, "Will Lin Ran really be in the audition room later?" Li Yun, "Well, all the actors who auditioned before saw him." Li Yun was afraid that Su Kitchen was nervous, and soothed, "It's okay. Although Lin Ran is young and famous, he has a good temper and no air." Su Kitchen was not comforted at all. This is a character he created. He knows better than anyone what kind of person is in the bones of this gentle and kind young actor. Why didn't I think I had to make a smiley persona? However, the appearance of Lin Ran's personification is strange and familiar. Li Yun saw him in a daze, and quickly told him not to think about it, "Hurry up and prepare. You will be the next one. Do you want to take the script into it?" Su Kitchen shook his head, "No need." Li Yun looked at him suspiciously, and saw his calm face, but was even more worried, "Don't be too Buddha." Su Kitchen nodded, "I see." It didn't take long for the one he auditioned before came out. Su Kitchen took a breath, and just ate too much sugar, and the roots of his teeth were a little soft. After entering, I found that there were only two people sitting inside, a man about 40 years old, and a woman about 30 years old wearing glasses. They should be Chen Anping and Chu Qing. The third chair was empty. I don't know why. Su Kitchen felt relieved. He bowed slightly, walked to the front of the video camera, and briefly introduced himself unnecessary. Since he came in, Director Chen and Editor Chu have been looking at him, their eyes are not too friendly. Su Kitchen could see that, after all, Jimen's was a famous flow vase with a leather bag, and their reaction was understandable. Dao Chen kept a cold face and didn't speak, and the atmosphere was a little nervous. Su Kitchen is a guy who has no intention of winning, so he rarely feels the tension brought by competition. Chen Anping stared at him, and he looked at each other motionlessly. Chu Qing was the first to speak, his tone not lukewarm, "Have you read the script?" "Yep." "You first try Yuning's chanting on the third page. There is a book there and you can read it." Su Kitchen gave a hum, thinking that they might be worried that their performance is too bad and they dare not be too embarrassed. But he didn't get the script, he lowered his head and cleared his throat, looked at the camera, and started straight away. In June, the hot air on the asphalt road slightly distorted everything in the field of vision, swaying in the eyes like seaweed. The sound of bicycle wheels spinning wildly in the ears, sweat, warm wind, blue sky, like on a plate oil paints were mixed roughly. Will he still be in that coffee shop today? Maybe. He wore an old black uniform yesterday, but it suits him well. Why didn't I just take a look at his badge so I knew him name? Su Kitchen said slowly, his voice was very special, it was a slightly cold but soft youthful voice. If not? What if he rests today? It's really hot, the sun is roasting on the backbones, and it hurts a little. The road seems to melt away, it looks hot and greasy, like sticking tightly. The clothes on my body. There is a thin coffee aroma in the mixed air, and my nose is really good. Should I go in and buy a cup of coffee? Let's take a look first. Yes, look through the window to see if he is there. If not, just go in and blow the air conditioner. If so. There was sticky sweat coming out of the palm of my hand for no reason. I hate summer, and summer makes me embarrassed. The window is very transparent, and you can clearly see the shape of his smiling lips when ordering someone else. He is there, let's go. I tried to pedal, but my feet started not to be called. Su Kitchen looked at the camera and his expression became cramped. Hello, a glass, ice mocha. Still came in. It's all because of summer, the heat and sultry hold my body, forcing me to speak. I hate him a little bit now, like I hate summer. Strong, unscrupulous, oppressing my heart. After Su Kitchen finished speaking the last sentence, he hadn't gotten out of his emotions for a while. Suddenly he heard a few clapping sounds. He turned his face ignorantly and saw Lin Ran leaning on the door frame. The other party smiled and walked into the room to sit next to Director Chen. Director Chen looked at the very beautiful boy in front of him, his eyes still cold, but he didn't seem to dislike himself as he did at the beginning. It took him a while to speak. When did you recite the lines? While waiting. Su Kitchen said honestly. A familiar voice suddenly appeared in my heart, Mr. Su, you have a good memory. This was the first time that 0901 took the initiative to initiate a dialogue. Su Kitchen replied, I was studying liberal arts in high school. It is commonplace to memorize things, and this monologue was written by me, which is somewhat impressive. Editor Chu is not like Chen Anping. The expression on her face has a surprise that cannot be concealed. Just now, she almost wanted to stand up, hug the clean boy in front of her, and shout that it is you, but she is only a screenwriter. Even if it fits the personality, it depends on the director. Your voice and appearance are in line with the role of Yuning. Chu Qing pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose. The auditioning actors just now almost made a monologue here. Your monologue gives me a sense of picture. To be honest, now that Jimen's looks like a white shirt with jeans and a white shirt facing the sky, he already looks like Yuning from the script. However, acting skills are also a big issue. After all, it is a movie, not a magazine. Su Kitchen is not good at accepting compliments from others, so he closed his chin slightly. Thank you, it's just acting, I really can't keep up with others. Director Chen nodded slightly, as if he didn't hate this answer, at least it was self-aware, and he didn't make excuses for those who did not come from a major, but Jimen's reputation in acting was really worrying. Chen Anping stared at Su Kitchen for a long time without saying a word, which made him feel confused. Su Kitchen stood there, but his eyes stayed on Lin Ran. 0901, is there a prototype for Lin Ran's appearance modeling? 0901, Mr. Su, there is no real-life prototype. It is based on your novel settings. The answer was very perfunctory. Su Kitchen couldn't help but keep looking at Lin Ran, but the other side turned his head to look at him as if he had discovered it. Director Chen, why don't I try to play with Jimen's? Su Kitchen refused in his heart. The author has something to say about auditions. Many European and American actors' audition videos can be received online. Most of them are performing lines to the camera. Basically, they use their own understanding to interpret a line. There is no real object or partner. If you feel untrustworthy, you can search for it. There are very few audition clips in China, so I wrote with reference to the auditions in Europe and America. I think it should be similar. Director Chen seemed to like this proposal. Okay. It just so happens that you bring his emotions, let's take a look. Lin Ran got up from the chair and walked to Su Kitchen. He was very tall. Su Kitchen originally set 187 centimeters. Now he regrets it a bit. This man has a really strong sense of oppression. You are very familiar with the lines just now, so shall we continue with that monologue? Su Kitchen nodded, it's okay. He doesn't have the ability to improvise directly. Fortunately, the monologue just now created a situation for him in advance, and he already has an emotional foundation. If Lin Ran chooses the next explosive clip now, he will definitely not be able to enter the state. Lin Ran's business abilities are surprisingly good, his expression changes in a flash, and he becomes Nank in the play in a blink of an eye. He has a bright smile and speaks fluent French. Hello sir, you just ordered a glass of ice mocha, do you need anything else? Su Kitchen reacted. The memory killing was set in France. He looked at Lin Ran, nodded involuntarily, and then quickly shook his head. However, neither he nor Jimen speak French, so he can only speak slightly. Embarrassed to skip the short lines that should have been. Okay, it's 2.25 euros in total. Lin Ran's performance without physical objects was excellent. His smile was just right. He was a skilled coffee shop cashier. Su Kitchen reached out and fumbled in his pocket. There is always a subtle embarrassment on his face, which is seen by the director and screenwriter sitting below. In fact, this kind of embarrassment is needed for the first conversation with a crush. Su Kitchen stretched out his hand to Lin Ran, and Lin Ran spread out his palm naturally, and a pink crystal clear candy fell on his palm. Lin Ran, who had perfect professional ethics, almost laughed. Okay, please wait a moment. Lin Ran stepped aside, busy in his hands, acting in a decent way. Su Kitchen looked down at his toes, then looked at Lin Ran's profile and replaced French lines with Chinese. Are you French? While making coffee, Lin Ran replied, No, I'm Chinese, I'm here to study abroad. Really? There was some surprise. Lin Ran also turned his head, looked at him, and the two smiled at each other. He picked up a disposable paper cup on the small table next to it, walked to Su Kitchen, and handed it to him. Your coffee. His fingers are very long. Su Kitchen accidentally touched his fingers when he took the coffee. Lin Ran's eyes looked straight and warm, like the sunshine in July. At that moment, Su Kitchen felt the embarrassment from the bottom of his heart. He couldn't tell why. The feeling was terribly familiar. There was a thin layer of sweat on the palms, and the hand that received the paper cup trembled slightly uncontrollably. Thank you. Su Kitchen turned around, and the next scene was to leave the coffee shop. He walked slowly, as if the soles of his shoes were really stained with the melting asphalt on the road. Will you come tomorrow? Su Kitchen turned his head abruptly. Lin Ran scratched the hair on the back of his head. I mean, there will be activities in the coffee shop tomorrow. In summer, buy one get one free for cold drinks. He said the three words Xiamen very nicely, like the tone of love words. You can also bring friends, it's a good deal. Su Kitchen looked at him with a sincere tone, but I have no friends. Su Kitchen regretted it as soon as he said this, because it was not a line in the script. Sure enough, I still don't have experience, and I can't distinguish between reality and drama when I act. Lin Ran was stunned, but only for a moment. He walked around the non-existent counter, walked in front of Su Kitchen, and stretched out his hand at him. Su Kitchen was also stunned, and blankly raised his head to look at Lin Ran, who was half taller than himself. He had both the qualities of a man and a boy. The smile on his face was so sincere, it almost made Su Kitchen forget that it was acting. Su Kitchen hesitated, still stretched out his hand, and the other party held it quickly and forcefully. Now you have it. Come on tomorrow, I invite you to drink ice mocha. Sure. The moment Chen Anping called to stop, Su Kitchen immediately drew out his hand and said thank you to Lin Ran. Lin Ran also returned to his usual smile and walked back to his seat. Chu Qing's expression was different from when she first came in. She smiled at Su Kitchen from the bottom of her heart, but Su Kitchen didn't know if she did the same with other actors, and Chen Anping's expression did not change much. Several people said a few words briefly, and Su Kitchen left the room. Not long after going out, Li Yun greeted him, "How is it? You stayed for a long time." Su Kitchen didn't have any expressions, and said the truth, a monologue and a trial play, but they didn't say anything. Li Yun's expression was a little disappointed, but this was what she expected. This resource is really in demand. Those who come to the audition are all famous names. The biggest advantage of G-Men's is that he looks good and red. The management is staring. However, for such a literary film, his shortcomings are enough to make the director vote down. Lee Yoon patted Soo Kitchen on the shoulder symbolically. No matter what, it's good to give it a try. There will be opportunities like this in the future. Soo Kitchen did not hear Lee Yoon at all. He was talking with 0901. 0901, these characters are all roles in the system, so you should be able to read their thoughts. 0901 calmly replied, in theory, it is possible, but this requires you to pay 5,000 points in exchange. 5,000? He is only 400 now. Soo Kitchen gave up the idea of using system AI to inquire about reality. 0901, but Mr. Soo, I think your acting skills are pretty good. Soo Kitchen smiled bitterly, it is probably limited to this kind of crush. Recovered, Lee Yoon has been dragged out of the hotel. Group idols are different from other artists. They have to split a day into 2.5 days. Now it is 10:40 in the evening, and Soo Kitchen has to go back to the company and rehearse with his teammates. After finishing half of the dance formation, 5 people formed a circle and sat on the floor of the rehearsal room to rest. Bai Yi held a plate of throat lozenges in his hand, broke one and threw it into his mouth. I feel like my throat is going to smoke these 2 days. Sitting opposite Soo Kitchen stretched out his hand towards Bai Yi, I want to. Bai Yi broke another one and threw it to him, how about you? The throat lozenges tasted strange, sweet and spicy, but he still liked it. I shouldn't be able to go. Ming Chi patted Soo Kitchen's arched back, oh, how can it be so fast? Acting is so mysterious. If you don't believe it, let's slowly accumulate one by one. Zhongling was straightforward, it doesn't matter if you don't get it, so that you don't get scolded again, and it looks uncomfortable. Shen Huan threw the wet towel on Zhongling's forehead, smiled and cursed, first take care of your own variety show. Zhongling was selected as a guest of the new season of an outdoor sports reality show because of his athletic talent and good figure. However, he was born in an idol group, and even if his masculinity index explodes, it is difficult to avoid opposition. I have thick skin and thick flesh, so I scold casually. Shen Huan kicked Zhongling and then fell on Soo Kitchen. When writing the article, in order to get some Xiaoluo field from time to time, and the teammate CP between the groups is an inevitable product, Soo Kitchen did not hesitate to create a somewhat enchanting image of Shen Huan, but he really met him and found that he was real. Some can't hold back such a personality. Soo Kitchen moved his legs calmly, and Shen Huan fell to the ground all of a sudden, and was frantically mocked by Bai Yi, your hair is all sweaty. You have to wipe men's. Soo Kitchen smiled and waved, no, my legs are sore. After almost resting, the 5 people were picked up by the choreographer to continue the rehearsal. They returned to the dormitory in the middle of the night, but they could only sleep for more than 3 hours, and there was a magazine cover shot in the morning. On the way to the studio, Soo Kitchen watched everyone fighting in the car. He felt strange emotions, but it was not negative. He was not good at speech since he was a child, always unable to establish close relationships with others, and unable to integrate into the larger environment. Over time, he found that he had no friends. Suddenly, I got the special interpersonal relationship of teammates in a new identity, which was novel and a bit happy. After filming, the part of the group is the individual part of each member. Soo Kitchen can rest for a while. He was resting on the sofa on one side, sleepy and hungry, took a dessert from the coffee table and put it in his mouth. The female staff on the side saw it. He covered his mouth and smiled. It turns out that men's doesn't care about body management at all. Soo Kitchen couldn't talk with a big mouthful of cake, and smiled awkwardly, but a voice came from behind, he can't eat fat. As soon as he finished speaking, Lee Yoon wearing a black suit sat down beside Soo Kitchen, and Soo Kitchen slowly chewed the cake and looked at her. Lee Yoon sighed, are you not at all worried about your audition? Soo Kitchen finally swallowed the last bite, it's useless for me to worry. Have you read Weibo? Li Yun took out her phone. Su Kitchen shook his head. Since returning to the company, he has been rehearsing, and there is no possibility to use Weibo during bedtime. Li Yun handed the phone to Su Kitchen. I wanted to say yesterday that I would release the news first so that your image and the movie would be hooked, but I didn't expect to be posted first. Su Kitchen looked at his mobile phone, and several familiar marketing accounts posted on Weibo at the time of the audition yesterday. The content was similar, and what was Chen Anping's new work, focusing on same-sex subjects. Director Chen's new work supports LGBT people. Chu Qing and Lin Ran once again cooperated in the Golden Triangle, and most of them focused on the theme and configuration of the movie. Su Kitchen clicked on the full text of Weibo and saw that some of the artists' names were mentioned in a vague or even one stroke. He stretched out his hand, clicked on the comment, and pointed. You mean, him? Li Yun was also a little surprised, and he could tell when the child was getting better. The comment he was referring to was exactly what Li Yun wanted to say. I'm here to say that it's SC, and it will be announced in a while. It's not him. I will go back to live and eat xiang. This comment is the first hot comment. The following replies have nearly 700, including fans who took away my cheng, various parties who broke the news, and people who don't know the truth. Li Yun no longer hides it. Although on the surface these marketing blogs are only promoting Chen Anping's new movies, there are quite a few people with rhythm and cakes in the comments. It is obvious that Sun Cheng's team has united. The Fat Powder Navy Army has become hot. I wanted to inquire about his audition yesterday, but the Nank crew were very strict and couldn't tell any news. Su Kitchen remembered the way Sun Cheng sighed and his two sweet dimples. Maybe their team felt that they were inseparable from each other, so they started to promote it on Weibo. The reason for asking this was just to not show his feet in front of Li Yun, and Su Kitchen had an account in his heart. Sun Cheng looked completely hopeless in front of him yesterday. If it is fake, what is it for G-Mens to see and put pressure on it? Or let G-Mens lower his vigilance against him? If it is true, then it is impossible for Sun Cheng to enter the group based on the results of the audition. The only possibility is that there is a pusher behind him. According to Su Kitchen's setting, there are three main investors in Nank: Shandig Wanghua, Xinyao, and Dingming Century. Ironically, the reason Sun Cheng was unable to participate in Nankai in the original work was because G-Mens had the support of the management. The only thing that is certain now is that Sun Cheng's pusher and G-Mens are definitely not the same. Li Yun quickly rejected Su Kitchen's hypothesis: impossible. This kind of resource will be unstable until the moment the contract is signed. Moreover, he is not the only one who performs well. He is so impatient, it should be that the capital is in place. Try the water by the way. After Li Yun looked at Su Kitchen, her expression was a little bit hesitant. Su Kitchen knew the development of the plot and naturally knew what she was thinking. This feeling of mastering the script made him feel untimely happy. Sister Yun, what do you want to say? Seeing that he gave the stares, Li Yun didn't wait for a moment to go underground. This kind of movie resources means that there is no shop in this village. People have already started playing capital cards, and we can't just leave it alone. She sees Su Kitchen didn't speak, and continued, Ms. Zhongming of Dingming Century, I have an appointment for a meal, and I will go to eat together when the work is over. I'm not going. Su Kitchen said these three words without any humility, indifferent. Li Yun didn't fight, but still lowered her voice, what are you doing? It seems like I'm pimping. President Jiang's daughter is a diehard fan you followed since your debut. This dinner is also theirs. What I proposed over there is that I don't need you to do anything, just have a meal with his daughter alone. I heard that Dingming Century's investment is not small, and the right to speak should be enough. Su Kitchen still shook his head, Sister Yun, it's not my waywardness if I don't go, I have my own considerations, you just believe me once. There are many kinds of agents. Some are strategizing and stunned by their own artists, some are completely using the artist as a cash cow to drain the last drop of blood, and some are worried like an old mother. In the eyes of outsiders, Li Yun is the first type is actually only known to you, and Li Yun is the last type. Su Kitchen was unwilling, and Li Yun could not sigh the ducks cruelly. Su Kitchen said again, "Do you have President Jiang's number? I'll call him and say sorry." Li Yun hated iron and steel. He dialed the phone and threw it in Su Kitchen's arms. Su Kitchen took it. After showing his identity, the other party's attitude was very polite and friendly. Su Kitchen solemnly apologized to President Jiang and thanked President Jiang's daughter in particular. Said that he hoped to meet her backstage at the next concert and thanked him in person. The other party obviously didn't expect things to unfold like this, and was stunned for a while. Although Su Kitchen didn't clearly state the reason for rejection, the people in the market were all human beings. He would have liked it and laughed a few times before finally saying something. "My daughter looks at people with my own eyes." After hanging up the phone, Su Kitchen sighed. He is not very good at this kind of official communication, but the result is not bad. Li Yun covered her forehead with her hand, and felt the duck in her hand fly like this. "Do you know how important this opportunity is? This is Chen Anping's play, and Lin Ran is the co-operator." "I know, but Sister Yun, you said that if I really rely on Ding Ming to enter the group, what will happen next?" Seeing that Li Yun didn't answer, Su Kitchen continued, "If you want to inquire, your contacts will definitely be able to dig out the capital behind Sun Cheng. Similarly, others can dig us, even if the relationship between Ding Ming and me is only based on one for special fans. This is not what the public wants to see. Netizens want to see the fierce feeds, and the bridges they provide. The truth is not important at all. You definitely want to say that no matter how you enter the group, but for an artist like me, who has a lot of traffic, idols, fans, and poor acting skills, these labels are hard to tear off." Su Kitchen looked serious. "I don't want to let myself add a label and a brainwashing bag for the sponsor's care. My fans work hard every day to fight against the dark." The last sentence amused Li Yun. She didn't continue to say anything. She got up with her bag, said a few words to the other team members, and then left the studio. 0901's voice appeared again. "Mr. Su, do you really want to change the plot so drastically?" Su Kitchen, "No? Isn't it the same as Ziyuan? I am a Ziyuan madman." 0901, "It's not impossible, but the consequences are unpredictable." Su Kitchen, "It doesn't matter, it's a foul just to grasp the relationship between the characters and the plot lines that have not been changed." 0901, "It's really easy to satisfy." But what Su Kitchen said just now was hidden. In fact, the real purpose in his heart was his mission. If you want to change the ending of Ji Mengzebe, you must establish a more positive image for him from the beginning. Although it is difficult for traffic stars to get rid of negative stereotypes in front of the public, try to avoid some of them that may become black materials in the future. Things will be safer. Furthermore, bringing money into the team is the main reason why Lin Ran's attitude towards Jimen's in the first half of the original work is cold and mean. In order to successfully complete the secondary mission, Su Kitchen must change this plot line, even if he can't act with Lin Ran in the end. I hated the safety of his coming from the beginning. Because he really couldn't guarantee that the Jimen's he played could really turn the other side from disgusting himself to liking himself. 0901, "Mr. Su, you really lack confidence in your relationship." Su Kitchen was a little surprised. "Can you hear my heart?" 0901, "Because I am your designated AI." Su Kitchen sighed. His evaluation of 0901 made him irresistible. He is indeed extremely lacking in confidence, so he can be regarded as single by ability for so many years. After finishing the photography work, the members quickly left the studio. Many fans gathered outside the door. All of a sudden, the assistants around them blocked them until they got on the car smoothly. So tired. Bai Yi leaned his head against the car window. I will go to record the OST later, I feel like my body is hollowed out. Shen Huan, you are recording the show today, too. Shen Huan nodded, but I'm a mentor. In fact, the mouth that moves the most is much easier than the players. After hearing this, Bai Yi began to cry again. Mens, you can go back to catch up later. Ming Qi looked at Su Kitchen in a daze. I feel that you are in a trance. I heard that director Chen is very perverted. The actor will be scolded to death if he doesn't perform well. He keeps shouting cut. He doesn't care what your schedule is. You must act until he is satisfied. Bai Yi poked Su Kitchen in the cheek and comforted. It doesn't matter if you can't go, anyway, idol artists like us are really in his group, basically tantamount to suicide. Shen Huan said, speaking of which, Chen Enping also won a prize for his last film. Well, he is a director who has won a lot of awards in recent years. By the way, the film that Lin Ran won that year was also directed by him. He played a psychopathic ha. Very awesome. Wasn't he only 21 years old at that time? Anyway, these years, it's easiest to win prizes in terms of evolution, fineness, and dementia. Everyone was discussing enthusiastically, but Su Kitchen seemed to have been prodded, took out his mobile phone and started searching for the film that Lin Ran won. Child. This film, like Nank, is a Sino-foreign joint venture in the setting. The protagonist is a Chinese child who grew up in the bottom of the United States. His father died of drug overdose, and his mother was also a drug addict. All kinds of bullying, he became a cruel serial murderer as an adult. The script touched on many sensitive topics, such as racial discrimination, drugs, school bullying, and illegal immigration. It also caused a lot of controversy when it was released. The other members didn't return to the dormitory because of their work. Instead, G-Mens, who had the busiest schedule, missed the schedule because of this undecided film. Su Kitchen took advantage of the rest of the time to look at Lin Ran's film. 0901 couldn't help but say, Mr. Su, won't you make up for such a precious rest time? Su Kitchen put down the biscuit in his hand. 0901, what you said has a sense of sight of an old father. 0901 no more sound. Su Kitchen felt a little excitement, but the most curious thing was Lin Ran's performance in it, and finally turned into a real movie. The tone of the whole movie is very melancholy realism, which almost completely realizes Su Kitchen's idea when he was conceived, which is surprising. The movie uses a flashback technique. The protagonist, Chris Chen, is interrogated by the police in the image of a prisoner. Lin Ran is the first protagonist of the whole movie and the only Asian actor. In order to match the character's image, he is almost out of shape. He who was interrogated on the chair seemed to be just a shell, his hollow eyes looked like a dissatisfied black hole. The whole movie is constantly jumping between interrogations and memories. The interrogation lines are the transitions. At first, Su Kitchen could still watch while eating biscuits. When he watched it almost halfway, he couldn't eat a bite. It's not that there are any scenes. In fact, the movie itself is very realistic, but because it is too realistic, it almost looks like a documentary. Especially the scenes of Chris being bullied in school from elementary school to high school are all malicious intent on the abuser. It was presented in the way of video recording, such as brutality, verbal attacks, stripped clothes, food spilled on the body. Scenes from real to terrifying scenes are chilling. It was really hard for him to imagine how Lin Ran finished the play. At the end of the film, the middle-aged Chris, who was pushed step by step to the depths of the prison by the prison guards, slowly showed a smile on his face. The picture and the kid who walked into the campus with the old school bag on his back gradually overlapped with a montage technique. Two smiling faces mirrored together, depressed and horrified. This laugh alone was enough to make Lin Ran win the prize. The words that I used to describe Lin Ran's acting skills were extremely shallow when faced with this person's real performance. There is almost no line in the whole drama except for the interrogation part, but his sincere pleasure when killing people, the fear on the face when he was bullied, and the self-disgust when he was stepped on the ground to scold Ching Chong by his classmates, were completely displayed. The 21-year-old acting is a talented player. After watching the movie, Sue Kitchen felt the impact brought by the art of the movie, which couldn't be relieved all of a sudden. It must be great to be able to act with such a person once. To be honest, he just had the idea of completing the task at first, and wanted to get this cooperation opportunity with his own ability and approach Lin Ran. But now, he really has that little bit, and wants to create a soulful work with him. Thinking about this, Sue Kitchen opened Weibo and unexpectedly found that the word Nank appeared on the hot search, clicked it in and took a look. The previous marketing blogs posted new Weibo, but this time they clearly brought it. Sun Cheng's name is also accompanied by pictures of two actors, Lin Ran and Sun Cheng, and the film's record. The content is still the same, but this wave of momentum already looks more confident than in the morning. Sue Kitchen opened the comment. Take my house away and wait for the official announcement. Let's not say whether it is true or not, these two have no sense of CP at all. BTW, Lin Ran's vision of choosing a book, I am always convinced. No fan, I want to say that although Sun Cheng is a little juvenile, is it really suitable for a literary film to look so festive? I beg you not to show your fans tat, why does a certain family have the face to say that they are fans? Talking about self-speculation, whoever is self-speculation is Sima. Ah, it's kind of scary. This is just Sun Cheng. Sue Kitchen can't imagine what the fans on both sides will be like if it is really replaced by G-Mens with the top traffic level. For young actors like Lin Ran, who have a successful career and a good reputation, fans don't fight very much, but because of the coffee position, they hate to post. Fans of traffic stars are different from any of them. The greater the traffic, the more right and wrong, the higher the fans' experience value, and the stronger the combat effectiveness. Like G-Mens, fans grew up in a rain of bullets. Sometimes I feel sorry for these little girls. If they are hurt, they may not fight back or resist, but as long as they are for the people they like, they will become strong and persistent. The ringtone suddenly rang, and Sue Kitchen was so scared that he almost threw the phone out. Hey! Mans? Why is your voice so empty? Sleeping in the dormitory. Li Yun was on the phone. Sue Kitchen gave a hum, and Li Yun's tone was unconcealable excitement. Don't sleep, get up quickly. Tell you a good news, Sun Cheng was denied by Director Chen and other employers. You were still frying on Weibo just now, why did you become pornographic so quickly? While thinking about it, Sue Kitchen's cell phone rang and took a look. It was a reminder of a new friend on WeChat. Click to open. The head is a tree. The verification information is only 4 words. This is Lin Ran. Lin Ran. Lin Ran. Sue Kitchen stared at the line, and his fingers began to tremble unconsciously. Suddenly, the word congratulations appeared in front of him, and bling bling flashed blue light. Congratulations, you have received an extra 500 points. Extra points? Sue Kitchen stared at the prompt message in a daze. He didn't react until he heard Li Yun's voice on the other side of the receiver. He hurriedly collected the points, and then hurriedly held the phone to his ear again. Hey! Hey! Hey, listen, Sister Yun. The signal was bad just now. Li Yun's tone slowed down. I said why I didn't say anything for a long time. Sister Yun, you just said Sun Cheng was denied. Well, I'm still inquiring about the specific reason. It seems to be a problem between several investors. After all, the employers also score the top and second. Whoever pays more has the highest right to speak. These are not important. Now you have to have a meal with me. Let me make it clear first. The editors of Director Chen and Chu are here. It is not entirely the management of the management. I should change clothes quickly. I am already on the road. It will be there in 15 minutes. This came too suddenly. He was already holding the idea and determination of not being able to enter the group, but it turned out to be a turnaround. If the directors and screenwriters are there, there shouldn't be any major problems. Soo Kitchen found a suit in the closet and put it on. Looking at the person in the mirror, he couldn't help but sigh. This face is really beautiful. No wonder so many girls are so fascinated. Li Yun asked the makeup artist Xiao Zhang to do the styling for him in the car. After all, it was a meal, so he still had to make a profit. Does this game only invite us or do other actors of your choice? Li Yun finished the phone WeChat. I don't know, it's Director Chen's assistant who called. I can't ask if I didn't say this. There may be other people. You have to behave better anyway. That said, but his own artist Li Yun knows best, and is born with a taciturn temperament. Only one face is for God's sake. Except for Director Chen, the axis of this bureau is Shenghua Fengsheng of Shanda Guanghua. I guess that Shanda Guanghua's investment should be the most grand Guanghua? In other words, Ding Ming Century wanted to push G-Men's, but the grand boss after Sun Cheng participated in the dinner, so Sun Cheng was pushing Xin Yao. After understanding the camp between the employers, Soo Kitchen remembered what he had just posted on Weibo. Since it has been rejected, why is his team still building momentum on Weibo? Li Yun snorted coldly. He was just getting hot. The ancient puppet that he finished in the first half of the year is now in the publicity period. It is just when the heat is needed, even if it can't be Nank, as long as his name, and if you can't choose this film, it has already achieved its goal. However, if I were a capitalist, unless it was the bedside, I would not choose Sun Cheng. Soo Kitchen, how to say? It's very simple. This kind of literary and artistic film is a typical loss of money to make money. The director is for the prize, but the capitalist is not. Of course, the capitalist hopes to make a lot of money. Although Lin Ran's box office appeal is already in his niche, it's the best, but it's not enough for them. Merchants are always insatiable. Like this kind of double male lead drama, they certainly hope that the other one will also have considerable box office appeal, but Sun Cheng has been out for 4 or 5 years. Although his acting skills are not bad, he can be more straightforward. Fire, if you don't get fans, if you don't have fans, you have no money. Li Yun looked into Soo Kitchen's eyes. That's why you appeared at this dinner. Soo Kitchen smiled, wondering whether it should be fortunate or sad. This big environment has been completely commercialized, forming a set of rules that are completely different from the past. Of course, I also asked someone to ask. Chu Qing is very satisfied with you. She thinks your overall image best matches the character she wrote. Soo Kitchen just remembered something and wanted to ask Li Yun, but she suddenly forgot this soothing supplement, and couldn't remember it. What did you just want to ask? The car quickly arrived at the agreed place. This is a private club far away from the city center. The outside looks like a private villa, surrounded by trees, and only a red roof can be seen from a distance. It is in line with the low-key style of Director Chen. But if G-Men's really joins, there is no way to keep a low profile. Soo Kitchen walked into the club with a wry smile and followed the staff into a box. Although it was a box, the space inside was actually almost the same as the small half of the lobby of an ordinary hotel. As soon as she opened the door of the room, Li Yun switched to the entertainment mode. She stepped on a pair of expensive high-heeled shoes with a smile on her face, and her voice was softened a bit. It was not the way she was facing Soo Kitchen's old mother. As soon as Soo Kitchen entered the door, he saw Director Chen and Editor Chu. They were sitting together as they did during the audition. However, Editor Chu smiled at him for the first time and Soo Kitchen greeted them quickly. On the right hand of Director Chen sits a middle-aged man with well-dressed facial features. He has a smile on his face all the time. He has a strategizing leadership style, which is probably Sheng Huafeng. Hello, Mr. Sheng, long up for a long time." Li Yun smiled and stepped forward. Sheng Huafeng was a very gentleman. Seeing the lady proactively stood up and stretched out a hand, "Lucky meeting." As a freelancer, Su Kitchen has hardly encountered this kind of business entertainment, so he had to bite the bullet and stepped forward and bowed to Sheng Huafeng 90 degrees, saying, "Hi, Mr. Sheng, I am Jimen's." I was probably surprised by this slightly solemn way of greeting. When Su Kitchen got up, he saw that everyone's expressions were a bit subtle, but soon Sheng Huafeng laughed twice and pointed to Jimen's and said to Li Yun, "This kid from your family it's really honest." Li Yun also hurriedly accompanied with a smile and said, "Yes, don't look at his beautiful appearance, in fact, he is very real." Su Kitchen is not satisfied with the word beautiful. "Men's, right? Just sit here." Mr. Sheng pointed to the second position next to him. Su Kitchen took the seat as he said, and Li Yun also sat down next to him. "If we don't talk about work today, we will treat it as if I was singing someone to invite everyone to dinner." Sheng Huafeng's game? This made Su Kitchen a little unexpected, and he didn't understand why Sheng Huafeng had to vacate a seat. Didn't he want to sit next to him? "I often come to this club. The dishes inside are very particular. Director Chen, I know that you usually like to drink 2 glasses. I made a special trip to bring the best wine, white. You can wait a while. I have to sell my face." Director Chen's cold face finally showed a little smile. Strangely, it turned out to be a little honest and honest. "Hey, can Xiaoji drink?" When Li Yun wanted to speak, Su Kitchen unconsciously took the lead. "It's okay." 0901's voice soon appeared. "Mr. Su, you may have forgotten that Jimen's setting is not to drink." "I haven't forgotten." Su Kitchen replied in his heart, "He doesn't know me. Wouldn't my physical characteristics affect the body of this world? It doesn't matter." 0901, are you ready to fight wine? Su Kitchen, that's better than other methods. Do you have sober drugs for sale? 0901, a potent anti-alcoholic medicine, 301 bottle, the young man is not deceived. Su Kitchen, give me a bottle first. Just after speaking, the right suit pocket became a little heavier. Su Kitchen reached in and touched a small bottle about the size of Sanzinc oral liquid. It's true that the old man is not deceived. Suddenly feeling that his leg was kicked, Su Kitchen turned his head and saw Li Yun glared at him. He had to smile. "I can't tell, men's is so gentle and can drink. Okay, I like it. Those who can't drink are not real men. Others don't know." Su Kitchen is clear. Although Mr. Sheng was not a character who appeared on the stage at this point in the original work, he was also set by him. When he wrote it, he was a business that looked quite literate and had a chivalrous spirit in his bones. "People, so drinking this matter is considered a good impression, and I can't hide from him." While talking, the door was knocked twice. Mr. Sheng immediately laughed, and said to Director Chen, "It's finally here." With the sound of the door opening, Su Kitchen turned his head. For a moment, he remembered what he wanted to ask Li Yun in the car. "Will Lin Ran come?" Obviously, he has come. By coincidence, Lin Ran also wore a suit, but it was a light grey casual model, which made him slender. He smiled at the few who had already sat down and unbuttoned the cuff. "I'm late." The driver almost couldn't find a place. Mr. Sheng laughed and greeted Lin Ran. Lin Ran was also very generous, sitting neatly in the position between Sheng Huafeng and Su Kitchen. I don't know why, when Lin Ran sat down, he felt that the person beside him was like a kitten with fur up in an instant. He looked at Su Kitchen, and Su Kitchen also smiled at him. 0901, Mr. Su, your smile is a little fake. Su Kitchen, people are hard to dismantle. Lin Ran also responded with a warm smile, but because he knew Lin Ran's attitude towards Jimen's in the original plot, Su Kitchen always felt uneasy, but Lin Ran's appearance was quite natural, and he talked with Sheng Huifeng and the others familiarly. Day. The dishes also came up one by one. Sheng is always a generous character, greeting the people at the table. Although Director Chen always shows people with a cold image, he also sells Mr. Sheng's face. Chu Qing and Li Yun were able to talk, probably because they were both women and the topics were similar. Only Su Kitchen, except for drinking with Sheng Huifeng when he said toast, really didn't seem to be able to find any topic. Suddenly, I felt my left foot was lightly stepped on. Su Kitchen glanced at the person on the left, thinking that he had accidentally touched him, and quickly retracted his foot. The dishes in this private club are really delicious. Su Kitchen has not eaten a normal meal since he has been in this world. He picked up a piece of ribs and was about to deliver it to his mouth when he was stepped on his foot again. The ribs snapped into the bowl. Su Kitchen turned his head and looked at Lin Ran beside him. He held the wine glass in his hand and smiled. Just when Su Kitchen felt inexplicable, the other side turned a little sideways and approached him quietly during the intertwined meal. Lin Ran's tone is deep. This is your punishment for not adding me to WeChat. WeChat. Su Kitchen just remembered, oh yes, WeChat, I just forgot. The person next to him laughed out loud and moved a little further away. You don't think it's fake, right? Su Kitchen stared at the phone screen. No, I really forgot. I just took a call. Lin Ran tilted his head and looked at Su Kitchen's profile, speaking slowly, just kidding, you are so serious. I added it. Su Kitchen shook the phone at Lin Ran. Lin Ran nodded and drank the wine in his glass as if nothing had happened. Xiaoji, don't just eat vegetables. Come and drink a few more glasses with us. It's not me bragging. You can't drink this wine normally. Seeing Mr. Sheng stood up, Su Kitchen quickly got up and accompanied Mr. Sheng to dry the wine in the glass. Seeing his appearance, Director Chen suddenly asked, has Xiaoji worked a lot recently? Suddenly when the Director Q arrived, Su Kitchen almost choked. Before he had time to answer, he was picked up by Li Yun. He hasn't taken any job except touring recently. Of course, the tour can also be temporarily absent. Mr. Sheng poured himself another glass. Oh, look at how much you protect Xiaoji, and let him say to himself, there are no outsiders here, just say whatever you want. Mr. Sheng, his temperament became more obvious after drinking. Li Yun heard Sheng Huifeng's meaning at once, and a trace of embarrassment flashed across her face, but she quickly smiled. I knew Mr. Sheng that you were such a proud person, so I would not hold him so much. Blame me and blame me. Mr. Sheng, I will punish myself for a cup. After speaking, he stood up and worked. Okay. I just like this refreshing personality. After going back and forth, the people at the dinner table became more and more familiar, and they became more and more unscrupulous when they poured alcohol. Although Su Kitchen can drink, he hasn't drank it so hard in years. The stomach is empty and burned. He can only eat more food while you are empty to avoid dizziness for a while. Director Chen, Lin Ran, didn't you say that there is a job you can't get today? Lin Ran smiled and said, there is an event, I pushed it. It was originally a platform, it's okay if you don't go. Chu Qing took the stubborn words, it's the celebration of your company. You are also the pillar of your company anyway. If you can't go, you won't go. Sheng Huifeng, oh, it really saves me face, is this all pushed? Lin Ran picked up the wine glass and slammed it against Mr. Sheng's glass. There was a crisp sound, that's necessary. Come here, Xiaoji will add another glass, let's touch it. Su Kitchen's mouth was full, and his heart felt a little after hearing this. He had to swallow in a hurry, raised his cup to touch Mr. Sheng, and drank it in one breath. Okay. Little season is good, not disappointing at all. Mr. Sheng's face flushed red, and his gentleman's demeanor disappeared at first. Now he looks like a bandit leader who drinks and eats meat in a TV series. The accent of the northern man can't hide. I used to have a meal with a crew, and I voted. The little actor in it is about the same age as Xiaoji. That's emoji. Drinking a drink is like death, and it starts before my lips are touched. I'm drunk, and my head looks like a rattle. It's reluctant. It's annoying to see it. Tell me, what are you afraid of? I don't drink with people from girls and girls. The girl is not good at drinking, so it's okay for the elders to eat or drink some wine. Speaking of this, Mr. Sheng looked like a machine gun. The more he talked about it, the more angry he became. In the end, he simply stubbornly finished a big cup. Su Kitchen was particularly tempted to laugh by Mr. Sheng's remarks. As a result, he smiled and felt that the alcohol was turning out, coughing uncomfortably, and he wanted to drink some water and pressured it. In panic, he picked up the cup and took a sip. This is my cup. Su Kitchen widened his eyes and looked at the cup in his hand, and his cough grew worse. Lin Ran suffocated his back with a smile, but Su Kitchen subconsciously moved back and stood up embarrassedly. The wine in the cup was spilled on his body. When Li Yun saw it, he hurriedly rounded up the field. This kid just can't boast, his face is too thin. Mr. Sheng laughed a lot of anger. Xiaoji, go to the bathroom and get it. Su Kitchen nodded, coughing while covering his mouth, and went out. The stamina of Beiju was too much. As soon as he stood up and walked to the door, Su Kitchen felt a little trembling in his legs. He could only hold the wall with his hands, staggered to the bathroom, and then took out the sober in his pocket. The medicine broke off the bottle and poured it into his mouth. Leaning on the wall of the bathroom and waiting for a few minutes, the weightlessness and dizziness of drunkenness were obviously much better. The bathroom in the private hall is also quite luxurious, with towels, cotton swabs, aromatherapy and candles on the wash basin. Su Kitchen looked in the mirror and found that there was not a lot of wine on the suit, so he still didn't wipe it, so he lowered his head and washed his face. As soon as the cold water touched the skin, Su Kitchen suddenly became sober. He looked up in the mirror and was taken aback again. You, why are you here? Lin Ran smiled and handed Su Kitchen a towel. Are you the only one who can come here? Seeing Su Kitchen dazed and not picking up the towel, Lin Ran gently threw the towel over his face, and then washed his hands. It was all on his face. Su Kitchen wiped his face. He didn't know why. He was a little subconsciously cringed when he met this person. Just want to act with me? Su Kitchen, hey. Lin Ran shook the water in his hand, smiled and tilted his head to look at him. Otherwise, why do you drink so hard? Su Kitchen, I envy this person's self-confidence. Lin Ran wiped the water on his hands, but did not leave, but stared at Su Kitchen. Su Kitchen, what's wrong? Lin Ran shook his head. Aren't you eating candy today? Su Kitchen, hey. Lin Ran had a harmless smile on his face. I can help you twist the lid. Su Kitchen smiled with a guilty conscience and waved his hands. No, I won't eat today. Let's go back soon. Hearing our words, Lin Ran felt an inexplicable joy, so he followed him back to the private room. As soon as he entered the door, Su Kitchen met Chu Qing's gaze. The other party's smile made him a little bit overwhelmed. He had no choice but to ask 0901 for help, who had never understood the girl's thoughts. Su Kitchen, what is Chu Qing's laugh? Why is it weird? 0901, Mr. Su, this is the ant's laugh. Su Kitchen. Ant laughs? Why do you smile at my ant? 0901, this is probably due to the joy of a CP fan from the heart. Su Kitchen. When they were seated, Mr. Sheng and Director Chen were chatting happily, and the two middle-aged men drank blushing, keeping the last trace of sobriety. Director Chen hasn't made a new film for 2 years, right? Oh, you can wait for me. Go and ask the people in my company. I talk about it every day. As long as it is Director Chen, no matter what film I want to cast. Sheng Huafeng holding the cup excitedly. Su Kitchen listened calmly, mentioning the movie only after drinking 3 rounds. Director Chen is much more calm, although his face is full of alcohol. Mr. Sheng trusts me. I originally wanted to shoot a few more films, taking advantage of not being too old now. Li Yun smiled and said, Director Chen has begun to call old when he is only a few years old. Chu Qing also laughed, Director Chen is like this, and he tells me every day that he can keep me healthy. Director Chen waved his hand, it's not a joke, but the energy consumption is not as good as before. I want to challenge the new style while I can still keep up with my energy. No, I hit Xiao Chu's new book at a glance. I want to shoot. Come try it out. Chen Anping's words and sentences are all understatement, but it took a month or 2 to choose the role alone, and the emphasis on the new film can be imagined. Chu Qing also smiled and said, it's hard to work with Director Chen again. It's been 3 or 4 years. Li Yun glanced at Chu Qing and handed over, I heard that the script edited by Chu is tailor-made for Lin Ran this time. Lin Ran laughed, the more you pass it, the more profound it gets. Everyone looks at me too high. Chu Qing, Lin Ran is still embarrassed. I was watching a video made by Lin Ran when he was admitted to the Film Academy. He was only 18 years old at that time. He was inspired to write a youthful theme. The book, but the current youth films are all very vulgar. In order to be confused, I want to focus on different things. After writing for more than a year, I wrote this book. It happened that Director Chen wanted to transform, and it was lucky. Sheng Huifeng poured himself another cup. Okay, the youth theme is booming now, Lin Ran, I am relieved, this other role is searched, dragged, and it is scheduled to start in March. Until now it's been more than 2 months, and I haven't settled down yet. Time is money. You have come and I have been around for so long, and finally got the point. Sheng Huifeng said again, I see, Director Chen is not entangled, so let's stop the role of Yuning as soon as possible. If you drag the film like this, you won't be able to catch up with next year's XX Film Festival. Su Kitchen pondered the meaning of Mr. Sheng's words. But Director Chen didn't answer the conversation. 2 people, you have a drink and I have a drink, and you can drink endlessly. Emil was so utterly undecided that no one had spoken thoroughly, and ended up in a hasty ending like a fragment of Mr. Sheng. On the way back to the dormitory, Su Kitchen didn't think about those things anymore, and settled as he came, but Li Yun looked rather uncomfortable. There was no way. After finally eating a meal, he failed to implement the role's affairs. It was difficult. Don't make people feel flustered. The WeChat prompt sounds. You have to say thank you. It was sent by Lin Ran. Su Kitchen didn't understand what it meant, and bluntly replied, why? After returning, think carefully, is it because of the last time you opened the candy can for him? I have already said thank you. Lin Ran, I will eat with you today. Su Kitchen, stay with me? Didn't you come to socialize? After sending the news, Su Kitchen felt that Lin Ran was more and more inexplicable, and he began to doubt that this person was still a character created by himself. After a while, Lin Ran responded to him. You'll find out in a few days, I'm waiting for you to thank me.